Is this even working? Okay. Hello, welcome back. So I have been battling perfectionism in that I really wanted to give up just now. I'm like, what did I get myself into? And all these negative thoughts started going into my head. And at one point, it does make it easier to recognize and remember that perfectionism is a trauma response. So once you know that, you can actually address these thoughts for what they are. And for this reason, I'm going to say, fuck perfectionism. Here I am. Before I share my story though, I want to say that my intention is for people to know that what they're going through might actually be part of a bigger picture, and that they're in no way responsible for what they had to endure. Sometimes the beginning of the solution is to see that bigger picture. And I do believe that information is power. Knowledge gives you the ability to look for tools, strategies, and techniques that you can apply to yourself, to your own life, and to learn how to self-discipline. And basically, I believe that that's the path to, inner peace. So here it goes. Until last year, I suffered immensely, and I didn't know why. Basically, I had 2 university degrees already, and I was doing my PhD, but my severe procrastination was just getting in the way of everything. I was failing miserably at life. I was failing to meet the expectations that teachers and my parents and I had set for me. I was just in a really dark place. I suffered the consequences of mistakes that I kept making over and over again. And I was like, I thought I was smart. I considered myself to be an intelligent person. Why am I in this situation? Like, what is going on? Let's take a step back. As a child, I have always been a super energetic, happy child. Even though, I grew up in less than optimal conditions. But I was really cheerful. I was curious, and I actually did pretty good in school. As a multiple time immigrant, is that, I don't even know if that's how you say it, but like a multi-immigrant. Yay, sounds cool. From a really poor background, I actually did pretty good in school, and intellectually, everything seemed just fine. And yet here I was, trying to finish this PhD, but feeling miserable and feeling like I was lagging behind. Like literally lagging behind in life compared to everybody else around me. I know it's not the case, like you should never compare yourself to anybody else. You should only base yourself on your metric. But I was like, everybody seemed so successful. Everybody seemed like they had a great career. Some people were even starting families. And I was like, I just wasted 2 weeks playing video games. My dishes are piling up. I am disgusting. So, I knew that there was something deeply wrong, but I just couldn't point my finger. I didn't know what. Now, what I just said probably resonates with you. I hope it doesn't, but probably it does, because it's like a really common phenomenon. And if that's the case, you might have experienced this one question that just seemed to loom over you like freaking death, like a shadow of death. And the question is, where did all my potential go? I sought answers to this question everywhere. I analyzed the oppression that I felt in the light of, cultural and political phenomena. Such as, for example, patriarchy, xenophobia, misogyny, and other social injustices. I obtained some answers, but I continued feeling helpless and deeply, deeply flawed, with tremendous mood swings and depressive episodes. So, at one point, I was like, maybe it's not the external context. Maybe it's my body. And so I started, doing some medical tests, and I found out that I actually had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which affects many people. And one of the symptoms is, severe mood swings, which can often lead to depression, especially before menstruation. So for a while, I was at peace with this explanation. But not long thereafter, I began to sense something else. I had a hard time regardless of my cycle. It just wasn't working. And I couldn't understand why. So at one point, interestingly, Instagram started to show me ADHD related content. So attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. And I was like, what? Why am I seeing ADHD related? Why am I seeing ADHD memes? Okay, I didn't have a hard time at school. I can sit still, right? I started hyper-focusing on ADHD itself. I was looking for information, trying to get as much of it as I could. So by the time that I read tens of scientific papers and hundreds of personal experiences on Reddit, I was like, I have ADHD. That was the key that opened all doors. I was like, this is it. This is it. Makes sense now. I learned about how physical hyperactivity is just the tip of the iceberg. This so-called disorder actually can take the form of mental hyperactivity. And indeed, my mind has never been quiet, and this has caused me so much anxiety. Then another symptom is emotional dysregulation. And I have always been a very passionate person, prone to extremely strong emotions that I could never seem to conquer, and that always led me to make drastic decisions in, less than optimal circumstances. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, another one is good old executive dysfunction. So what is this? Basically, it's the feeling of knowing exactly what you have to do, but being physically unable to do it. Your mind is I have to do this, I have to do this, and you're like, I can't. So for this reason, very often my room is a mess, dirty clothes pile up, I skip meals, but not because I'm not hungry, it's just because I can't force myself to get up, go to the groceries, and actually cook. Anyway, knowing how the brain works and the molecular reasons behind this has allowed me to forgive myself for the first time in my life. I am not lazy. I am not a bad person. I simply received a brain that works according to a different manual than what most other people are using. My brain developed differently, and it has a very low basal amount of dopamine, the motivation neurotransmitter. If life was a video game, I have been playing it at maximum difficulty all along with an Atari 2600. Evolution shaped my brain to work perfectly in an environment that is now outdated. And this is such an interesting topic. The reason behind this is mind-blowing, and I will be making videos on that. Anyway, in other words, my brain can't sustain sufficient levels of attention when something doesn't interest me enough. And, this is bad news. So up until now, coping mechanisms and last-minute, late-night studying sessions, they have gotten me, through those deadlines. But it just wasn't enough. You get to a point where it's not enough. Whatever type of job you have or studies, at one point, you're gonna fail if you have this. And if you don't do anything about it. So what happened to me was that the tremendous amount of energy that masking required eventually broke me. And I felt tremendous amount of shame, and I almost dropped out of my PhD. The next step was seeking actual feedback from experts. I initially went to a psychologist and they provided me with really useful information, but it was my dear psychiatrist who has ADHD himself who was able to diagnose me at the ripe age of 28. You may be asking yourself, why is it so important to receive a diagnosis? Well, I plan on... Did I just spit? Like, I spit on. Okay.
Peter, that's disgusting. Here, spit in this cup instead.
I plan on speaking about this in my upcoming videos, but let's just say for now that objectively describing things by what they are allows you to properly address issues. And far from victimizing ourselves or hiding behind labels, I think a proper diagnosis allows you to recognize the areas of your life that need desperate intervention and to adequately treat them through, medication, therapy, and other fun hacks. So there is certainly hope, for sure. Also, I'm not saying that ADHD is the most severe mental condition ever. I know that there's a lot of people suffering every day from much worse things. The danger, however, of undiagnosed and untreated ADHD is that it is insidious and almost invisible from the outside. And you suffer, but you don't even know why. And a lot of folks, they will never be diagnosed. And some of them are not even here anymore to tell the tale because their lifelong struggle of trying to fit into a neurotypical society was just too much to bear. So please remember that even if you think that you're not directly related to this topic, I do believe that you have encountered many people with ADHD, regardless of whether you or they know that they have it. And I think learning about this condition is a way to show how much you care about them and to build, a better and more inclusive society. So if you found this video useful in some way, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe and let me know what you want to know about this or your experience with it if you have it. But stay tuned because boy, do I have things for you. I did so much research on humans. I sound like an alien. Okay, creepy. I found out so many things that I do believe will change your view on life. So yeah, stay tuned. Bye-bye. Hey, just wanted to say that I just finished recording this video and I saw how horribly off-centered, not centered, my face was. And I just want to share with you that's because this is my third world, recording station. So cut me some slack. Cheers!
Peter, do we have to watch this? This is what rednecks watch, Brian.